Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. Today is Sunday, 17th January 2016. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Ladita Shri Vishwakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namini Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nilagramatarini Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today we are going to continue from in chapter 2. And today we are going to take Sloka number 50. So we'll first chant the Sloka and then we'll discuss. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karma saukoshalam.
Tasmad yogaya yoga karma
saukoshalam.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karma saukoshalam.
Tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma
saukoshalam.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kausalam.
Tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga
Yoga karma sokoshalam.
Radhika Raman Prabhu.
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrata dushkrite
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
Tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sokoshalam.
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kausalam. Kamalini Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु बुद्धि युक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्मसु कौशलम्
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kausalam. Premavardhini Mataji.
बुद्धि युक्तो जहाती है उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते
Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukrita dushkrite.
तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्मसु कौशलम्
Tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kausalam. Anybody else is there? Word by word meaning. Buddhi yuktaha,
बुद्धि युक्तः
one who is engaged in devotional service.
One who is
one who is engaged in devotional service.
Jahati,
jahati
Jahati
can get rid of.
can
can
get
get rid of
Iha,
here
in this life.
in this life.
Ube,
ubhe
They
both.
both
Sukrita dushkrite,
sukrata dushkrute
good and bad results.
good and bad.
and bad results.
Tasmat,
Tasmat
therefore.
Therefore,
therefore
Yogaya,
yogaya
yogaya
for the sake of devotional service.
for
for the sake of devotional service.
Yujyasva,
Jasva
be so engaged.
be so engaged.
Yogaha,
yoga
Yoga
Krishna consciousness.
Krishna
Krishna consciousness.
Karmasu,
Karmasu
in all activities.
in all activities.
Kaushalam,
Kaushalam
heart.
art.
Translation. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. A man engaged in devotional service
a
A
man
man engaged in devotional service
rids himself of both good and bad actions,
rids himself of both good and bad actions,
even in this life.
even in this life.
Therefore,
Therefore,
strive for yoga,
strive for yoga,
which is the art of all work.
which is the art of all work.
So now Krishna is giving directions to Arjuna as to what he needs to do. First, he is telling the symptoms, and then he is telling the actions. So this is again, reminding us of Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. Sambandha is between us and the Supreme Lord. Abhideya is the process. The process is strive for yoga. And then Prayojana is to get rid of both good and bad reactions. And of course, ultimate Prayojana is to serve the Supreme Lord in devotional service. So here the word used is buddhi yukto. Buddhi yukto. That means with intelligence. Yukta means with intelligence. So ube sukruta dushkrute. Ube, both. So sometimes that's why people don't want to take this up, because it's telling that you should give up both good and bad reactions. So they think that, oh, I have earned this bad reaction, a good reaction after so much hard work, and now you are giving me to give it up. You are asking me to give it up. That's not fair. And I want to enjoy this now. I got this nice opportunity to be in a good place, stay in a good place, have a good family, education, money, and now you are asking me to give it up. So Krishna is giving a hint that there is something better than what we think is good in life. He's saying that all this material opulence and so on, acquiring material knowledge, everything is okay. But ultimately there is something better. Kaushalam. The real art is to serve the Lord with buddhi, with intelligence, and attain the highest. So as usual, we have some wonderful commentaries by the acharyas. We will take them up. Kamalini Mataji can read this.
Hare Krishna. Therefore, endeavor for the yoga as described here, yogaya yujyasva, between all actions done with or without desire, karmasu. Action performed with indifference to results, yoga, is a skill, kaushalam.
So here this is just being explained, the word by word meaning we saw, and here it is in the sentence form. With or without desire, karmasu. Actions performed with indifference to results. So again, Krishna drills this into us, that we have to do everything without differentiation. And that's where this Advaitavadis, they think that everything is like that. Krishna is saying no difference. So now there's no difference between me and him also, and so on and so forth. And we will see some wonderful refutation of that, the acharyas. Adhikaraman Prabhu.
Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth.
This is from Srila Prabhupada. So he is saying that Bhagavad Gita is basically meant for removing our ignorance. How? By just following the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, we can remove our ignorance and find our real constitutional position, which is of being servant of the Supreme Lord. And then it is also teaching us, because at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, we are going to get the final mantra, which is to surrender to him completely, giving up all so-called religious activities, and then just attain the highest. Ultimately, he's not saying it, surrender to me out of dictatorship. He's not saying, well, come on, you surrender to me. He's not putting any fear in us. He is giving an option. He's just giving an option that if you want to get rid of everything, all your problems are because of this action and reaction. Sukruta, duskruta. So anything, Sukruta of course is a little better than Punya. Not little better, then it's a lot better. Because Sukruti moment we say it is actually in relation with the Supreme Lord. And Dushkruta means anything which is done good or bad, but without any relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's called Dushkruta. So Srila Prabhupada used to always call these people as rascals. That doesn't mean that you are some thief or something. He says rascal means one who is not a devotee, who doesn't accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is a rascal according to Srila Prabhupada. So he was using this in this Dushkruta terminology. So since only two of you are here, you can take turns and just read one by one.
But one who is engaged in actions performed in spiritual intelligence is superior. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, one acting in this way is relieved of both good actions which lead to heaven and evil actions which lead to hell, even in this very life. Therefore, verily, one should always engage oneself in the sacred science of one's individual consciousness, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness.
So, both hell and heaven are rejected in the devotional service. Both are rejected because both are temporary. Both belong to the same material world. It's like a different prison cell. One having a solitary confinement and other is having a nice Dunlop pillow with air conditioned and all that. So it's not desirable because it will keep you away from the Supreme in both situations, and then that means you're not achieving the highest achievable, which is to go back home, to Godhead.
Lord Krishna speaks of directing one's consciousness by spiritual intelligence. The merits one gains in the course of human existence, such as fame, relations, power, and wealth, though pleasant, should not be deemed important or be attached to. But those superior merits one has acquired by surrender and meditation to the Supreme Lord, such as the righteousness, compassion for all living entities, devotion and love of God, should be most attached to.
So again, it says that all these material achievements, it of course gives some pleasure, no doubt. But then in the course of pleasure, we forget the higher goal, and we have to suffer. Because even when you are getting pleasure and acquiring some punya, you have to come back. You are still bound. You are still not free. You are still not liberated. You are still not eligible to go back. And here we see that a devotee automatically develops all the good qualities. Just few are mentioned here: righteousness, compassion for living entities, devotion and love of God. So you should get more attached to these rather than to name, fame, money, etc., etc. Again, let's not forget that we are not denouncing acquiring anything of its own accord. If you get some wealth, some nice talent, singing, writing, whatever, it's not a waste of that, and you should not waste that talent in achieving something temporary. you should use that talent in the service of the Lord. So, what you should be attached to and what you should not be attached to.
For one whose consciousness is situated in the ignorance of nescience, whatever sacrifice, charity, penance, or austerity one performs, even for thousands of years, are to no avail and bequeath no benefit. This has been well delineated in many Vedic scriptures. Hence, it is clearly to be understood that the ignorant do not gain anything spiritual by their actions.
So, whatever you do in the material world, you do not get any spiritual benefit. Whatever material activities we do without any relationship with Krishna, that will never ever give you complete success. Your life will never be perfect. And that has been all been confirmed in the Vedic scriptures.
Vedic scriptures reveal that both merits and demerits are destroyed if actions are performed in unfavorable circumstances. If merit gets destroyed as well, it is always detrimental. But there is no possibility for destruction of any merit for one who is situated in spiritual intelligence, even if there is some remnant of desire present.
This is very important. See, we cannot start like a perfect devotee on the day one. We cannot, just because we hear some class that you should not desire, then we just give up all desires. It's not practical, it's not possible. So here, once we take up this path and start progressing in that, then even if we have some desires which are still there, and all of us, we have desires. We have material desires also, but then slowly, once we start getting the taste of the spiritual bliss, the taste of Krishna Bhakti, the taste of Bhakti Seva, then slowly those desires start diminishing. Desires remain, but your desires get transformed from material to spiritual. And here it also says that merit also gets destroyed. So people don't like that. That's why they say, oh, no, let me first enjoy this and then we'll think of the old age when I have nothing, or if I have enough, all my material problems are taken care, which is not going to happen ever. So that's why the people who say that they will do it when their hairs become gray and so on and so forth, never going to do that because it's so difficult to change. It's actually much easier to change earlier in your life rather than at the later part of life.
It is not that one ever can lose their individual existence by uniting one's individual consciousness to the Supreme Lord's ultimate consciousness. The soul is always connected with the Supreme Lord, but those in the nascence of ignorance are unaware of the soul's existence. The difference between the Supreme Lord and all living entities is eternal, and thus the individual existence of all living entities is established as being different from the Supreme Lord.
So here the Acharya, this is from Sripad Madhvacharya. He is a long purport. I have taken a few paragraphs from there. This is, of course, because we have discussed this, the individuality of the soul. The soul can never be merged into the super soul, etc. So few paragraphs which really I found them interesting. So here we see that he is establishing, first of all, that The individual consciousness can never be one with the spiritual conscience. Supreme Lord conscious, ultimate consciousness. There is no uniting means not merging. Uniting means having the same thought process, having the same consciousness, similar consciousness. That means surrendering. When you surrender, then you go as per the consciousness of the superior, right? So that's what it means. Not that you lose your identity and so on and so forth. And the difference we know is that eternality, of course. Of course, yes, soul is also eternal, super soul is also eternal, but even the bodies that the soul accepts are temporary, and the super soul's body is permanent, eternal, Shashvat.
Narada Muni has personally seen liberated souls, different as separate individual beings from the Supreme Lord. The statements found of becoming one with the Lord are indicating that one attains the qualitative spiritual existence and association of the Supreme Lord. Different determinations are found to be stated due to different angles of vision. When a man and a woman are married, it is often said that they have become one. But does that mean they have each lost their separate individual existence? No, not at all.
Nice example here of people say that they are become one. They also talk to each other. Oh, we are one. The lovers talk like that. But that doesn't mean that their souls have merged or something like that. It's just that he says here, you get a qualitative spiritual existence and association of the Supreme Lord. That's the most important. When we say we go to the Supreme Lord, you associate with him, right? So when the same way, when we are in the devotional service and we are performing devotional service, many times we feel very close to the Lord, right? We feel his presence, and his association gives us some extra energy, real extra energy, which makes us happy, and that happiness is invaluable. We cannot get that happiness anywhere else. Hare Krishna.
Narada Muni has also gone on to declare that the Supreme Lord cannot be attained by even Brahma, Shiva, and all the host of Devatas. By such words, Narada negates equality with the Supreme Lord. Similarly, with the words Yatra Nanyat Pashyati, where nothing else is perceived even by such words, then deference and subservience to the Supreme Lord is always shown, or else how is known to be the Supreme?
This is a pure Dvaita philosophy. Lord is separate from us. He is the Supreme, we are not the Supreme. So this is also the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, because we come in that Madhva Sampradaya. So here Narada Muni, he is giving some examples of Narada Muni declaring that even Lord cannot be attained even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, etc. and the Devatas. They have to also serve him in devotional service, and then only they can associate with the Lord. They can never become one. They can never be the Lord. That's of course the thing. So subservience, that's the philosophy we adopt, right? The real constitutional position is that we are the eternal servant of the Lord.
knowledge of Supreme Lord Krishna, and by that knowledge renouncing the fruits of one's actions, neutralizes the effects of one's actions and is known as excellent action. Knowledge of the Supreme Lord Krishna is known as spiritual intelligence.
So in simple words, when we say spiritual intelligence, which we very often quote, that means that to know Supreme Lord as He is. And then once you know that, then you start renouncing the fruits of one's actions. Once you start doing that, that action is called as excellent action. The action of renouncing the fruits of action are called as excellent action. Very nicely put. So we come to the end of this narration or discussion. So if you have any questions, comments on this particular shloka or anything else in Bhagavad Gita, we can take it up. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much again for
Hare Krishna.
amazing description of actions and reactions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So whatever, if we do every action in Krishna consciousness, that will not attract any good or bad result.
That's
So
yes.
we are not bound
Yes.
to take birth again and again.
Yes. That's Sukruti.
So whatever we do, that is why they say have Krishna in the center, do everything as a sacrifice to Krishna, as a
Yes.
thing to Krishna.
Yes, if we do that, then we don't have to worry about any karma phala, because karma phala is not there at all. So the whole game is of consciousness. If our consciousness is perfect, then the results will be perfect.
Yes.
And as even the Acharya says here, we need not worry about becoming perfect the day one. Like it's a progressive work. As we keep on doing it and as we develop, that's why in Nectar of Devotion we see how it goes from one stage to other. Start with sadhana bhakti, then raganuga bhakti, then bhava bhakti, then prema bhakti. So we should not think of putting the vehicle in the fourth gear right in the beginning. Some people try to do that. They say, why we need all this? But that's the process. The car will fail if you put directly in the fourth. There's something may break. Same way, we have seen a lot of people who come into Krishna consciousness or into bhakti, or they think that now they want, and they are so fast that just land on their face, very next week or next month, and then it's gone, So everything has to be done with baby steps. Absorb. I always give the example of a caterpillar, how it transforms from one leaf to the other. I don't know whether you noticed it, It just probes the leaf, other leaf, and then, puts a little 2-3 feet there, and then feels it. And then slowly, it tries to put more weight there. And once he is confident that, yes, now this leaf can take my weight and I will be safe, then he leaves the other leaf. So that's how we should be, because it's a enduring thing. If you do this way, that's enduring. If you try to jump, like for example, if this caterpillar jumps and then it slips, it doesn't get a grip, then it will fall down. That's what happens. We shouldn't be jumping unnecessarily. We should be enthusiastic. We should jump in ecstasy of the kirtan. That's all. That's the only jumping which is recommended.
Yes, as we progress, we have to clear our anarthas. That happens slowly, so we will progress slowly.
That's why we have been given this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and so on, so that we cleanse slowly. We see our own self.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and that is called as a Atma Nivedana. Giving up everything. Not self-realization, self-realization. Everybody talks of self-realization, but very few people can really explain what is self-realization. They generally make a jalebi out of it, they just say something confusing.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Kamalini Mataji, thank you so much for wonderful realizations. You are asking brilliant questions.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. No, nothing. So whatever we have, it is only Krishna given, Prabhuji.